2015, and account exec director, and then national. There's three. You got promoted 3 times. Congratulations.
Thank you.
In 5 years. 20 years old you started? December. December comes after July. So he had
Months.
turned 20.
This is the Culture Matters podcast. Jay Duran.
Yeah. Which, Tyler, you have to come on too, You don't have a choice.
T. Stratton. Even
Gotta
if
get your
there-
books first so I can read them.
Even if there is a choice, he'd be on.
So are we ready? Because I'll do it.
Are we
I'm going to
recording?
3, 2, 1 it in a moment. Stoehr. It's going to be fun.
I like it.
All right, I got my quote. 3, 2, 1. Hello, Culture Matters podcast. I am very excited for our guest today. Here's a quote before I introduce our guest that I think perfectly suits this show. Excellence is never an accident. It is always the result of high intention, sincere effort, and intelligent execution. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. Aristotle. Our guest today is a friend, a compatriot, a leader in action and words. In less than 5 years, they've accomplished more than people have done in decades in a career. Few know and fewer understand. But this individual knows a heck of a lot about their industry and about life. They're kind of like Benjamin Button. They age backwards. They're a mentee of someone that's been a huge impact of my life, the real Brian Hess. And they're a family at this point. So I welcome Eli Stoehr on the Culture Matters podcast. It's a long time coming. God, one more thing. Like when first time I met him, he was just working his butt off in a very small room, looking like $1 million. God, there's more I want to say because of the emotionality of this, but thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it, Jay. Thank you for having me. This is, quick, funny story real quick before we dive into it. First time I met you, Jay, we were talking about this yesterday. First time I met you, we were sitting, this was 3 offices ago. So
wow.
Brian and I had this little tiny shared office, right? No bigger than, one of the single offices that we have here. And I had Spark by Advocare, energy drink, right? You probably remember.
You have
this.
any now or?
I don't. Not with me. But Brian and I ripped open a packet, poured it in our water, and Jay's over there, and it's these little self-serve packets. Rips it open, and looking at Jay, and you kind of look away, and you're like, whew, dry scoop it straight into your mouth, and you're like, I'm good. I'm like, Jay, are you good? Are you sure you're good, man? So that was one of my first interactions with you, and I will never forget that.
What were you thinking at the time?
I was thinking, who the hell is this guy? No, I mean, seriously, I was like laughing my ass off. I think. Can I say ass on that?
You could say we're actually rated explicit, believe it or not. The Culture Matters podcast.
No, I was. I've always enjoyed our conversations, and when I first met you, we always had. You've asked me questions that I feel not too many people have asked me, or if no one's asked me, you go deep into these questions. So I've always enjoyed our conversations, and then out of nowhere, you just kind of rip one of these. I'm like, woo! All right, let's go. It's one way to.
December 2018. What was going through your mind when it was your first 30 days at the Pavement Group? What are you thinking?
I didn't have anything to lose. I was living in Wisconsin, still living with my parents, and I actually just dropped out of school, like right before that. So I was going
college.
I was going to college. Yeah. I was going to college for sales and marketing for 2.5 years, and I ended up leaving that, and I jumped on board at the Pavement Group. Wow. And honestly, the thing that was going through my mind was like, I have nothing to lose. Like, I'm living at my parents' house. I've got all this student loans. I'm 18 years old. I'm like, well, if something goes south, I guess I'll just figure it out. And I've trusted Brian, and it was a pretty big leap. I ended up moving out here in 2020 as well. But I've trusted Brian. He's never steered me wrong, and jumping on board here, I was like, man, I got nothing to lose. Might as well. I better get to work. I'm young, 18.
Where was the interest in sales and marketing?
I've always been a people person. I actually in college I actually changed my major to psychology for a short term there. I quickly realized that there were a lot of other courses that came along with psychology that I just wasn't interested in, so I switched it back.
Do you remember what any of those were?
I don't remember exactly. There were just some that were just way above my head. But I love people, right? I love the interaction of people, which now makes sense, right? I'm like, all right, I'm now in sales. I'm now, leading people. And to me, it just kind of makes sense that I went for sales and marketing. I figured out quickly that I was interested in psychology, and that I like people, and that I was interested in how people behave. And then I switched it back to sales and marketing, and then, of course, I left college. But it makes sense that I'm now in the role that I'm at, because I genuinely enjoy people. I enjoy interacting with people and understanding how people function and why they do the things that they do.
What was your big motivator to go to college?
It was, everyone was going to college. I had a job offer to make.
Really?
Yeah, I had a job offer before, like right out of high school. I don't even remember the place now, but it was, it was an operator of some sort, like a machine operator. I was gonna make $50,000.
There's a fly that just flew right on your head.
I felt that. There's a lot of.
I just killed the fly.
You just
that flew
killed the
right
fly.
on your head.
I hope you caught that on
I
camera.
mean, Tyler's look, his face is priceless. I just feel even more connected to you than I've ever been. But go ahead.
We just murdered a fly
I've
on
never
the
worked
Culture
that.
Matters.
You could ask
podcast.
Jenna. She's the one that gets them in our house. I can't get them, but I've never been that connected. So continue.
I love it.
I'm learning.
So I actually had a job offer at a local machinery
I'm
place.
covering the fly with the book, so I'm not looking at it.
Okay, I'll take it.
Job offer,
Yes.
Operating business.
So what
out of high school.
Yeah, I would have made $50,000 out of high school, which right out of high school.
That's a tremendous amount.
Right? I mean, $25 an hour, and plus overtime probably would have been more than $50,000. So I ended up turning that down, and I ended up going to school. I just, I saw I didn't see a future at that place. I don't even remember what it was called. It's just a local place in Hammond, Wisconsin.
Wow.
But everyone was going to school, and so I was like, all right, if I want to be something, if I want to do something, I should probably go to school. And that was kind of the direction. I also didn't really know what else to do besides that.
I have to say for the audience, Eli's excelled at such a high level, so it could have added that in the introduction. That's on me in multiple capacities. So my question is, in high school, were you seen as someone that was going places? Did you get those pats on the back like you do today? What was that like?
So, no, not really. I mean, I don't think so. Anyway, I was that kid that no one disliked, but I didn't have beef with anyone. That makes sense, right?
I really took you as a bully.
No, I mean, to this day, I'm a pretty quiet introvert type person, even though I love people. But in big groups, I'm quite an introvert. And in high school, it was the same way. Like, I had my core friend group, played hockey. That was a big integral part of my growth growing up. But really, I mean, I was kind of a silent kid, quiet kid. I had a lot of people that I connected with and a lot of friends. I had high school was great for me. I didn't really get bullied or anything. But yeah, it's interesting seeing the development from back then to now. And it's one of the things that when I got into college, when I got out of high school, I remember thinking to myself, hey, internally, I was like, this is a start. Like, this is a fresh start. Like, I can be whatever I want to be. Like, I meet new people, do new things, go new places. And I was like, dude, I'm going I can be whatever I want to be. And so that kind of started the trajectory, of like, I don't know how I'm going to be something great, but I'm going to do it and I'm going to figure it out.
Wow. When you were young, did you have posters around your bed of paving? Like people have rock stars or is that what
Not
was
once,
going on?
Not once did I think I was
No
going to be in
pavers or
construction. No.
granite type
Nope.
visuals around the bed?
Nope.
Or
no.
like a tractor bed? No?
No. I actually, I wanted to be in the tech world.
Seriously?
I wanted to go, my initial thought was I want to go work for Tesla and do something cool. At the time, Tesla, this would have been 2017, so Tesla was fairly new, right? It wasn't what it is today. They were just blowing up.
Like Tesla,
Tesla
Elon's Tesla.
Yeah, Elon's Tesla.
You were thinking about that
I was
then.
like, man, it would be cool to work for Tesla and like do something cool like that. Like I didn't know if Tesla was the place, but that was the initial thought, just because that's a new hip tech company, right? And never thought that I'd be in paving.
I want to read something that I read this morning, actually, in preparation. I was so impressed by this. So here it is. I go to your LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
It says, years ago, I realized 3 things were certain: gravity, taxes, and my drive for innovation. 5 years later, I'm in one of the least innovative industries, working for one of the most innovative, forward-thinking companies in the industry. And most importantly, I love what I do. And it keeps going. It just gets better and better.
I wrote that probably 3 years ago too, by the way. It was probably.
Have you always been a writer?
No. Well, kind of. I guess. I haven't done a whole lot of writing, but I do enjoy it.
Then it goes on to say, I've always had a love for sales, marketing, and psychology. However, I never thought I'd land in the construction industry. After working for a handful of companies, I've realized it's not what you do, but who you do it with. The vision, mission, and ultimately culture truly decide how a company functions. This was crystal clear for me once I started at the Pavement Group. Innovation stems from people. And it didn't matter what industry I was in. You wrote this, right? Not like ChatGPT?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
this is pre-ChatGPT.
I realized the construction industry was lacking innovation, which is where I found my place at the Pavement Group. Everything became beyond exciting when I realized we simplify complex parking lot projects, simplify large property portfolios, save facilities and property managers' time, save facilities and property managers' money, create a clear and simple process, and so much more. Once I realized that it wasn't about what we sell, but about the people, culture, and results we achieve for our clients, everything changed. Simplifying your complex parking lot projects. Be great. Eli Stoehr. You wrote that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go. Geez, well, what comes to mind when I read that? That was I was like, that's the best about me I've ever read on LinkedIn, personally. And there's like some things I could take away. If I could say culture that simply. So, okay, you weren't always a writer. But is the passion that you had when you wrote that still present in you for the Pavement Group today?
Oh,
and
yeah.
if so, why? And how have you transformed?
Yeah. So I wrote that probably 3 years ago. So that would have been probably 2020. Since then, we've grown tremendously. We've added so many people. We've added new clients. I've made mistakes, and I've learned from those mistakes. But the core of that message and the core of that is still the same to this day. And I truly believe that. Like, I believe that what we do genuinely simplifies the process for people. I believe that it gets people, most importantly, I believe it gets people home, property, facility managers, contractors, quicker to their families quicker, to whatever they enjoy doing outside of, their job, their career. It's still there, and I think it's even more prominent today. As I've watched people, as I've watched employees come in, from being a physical therapist, from having a doctorate's degree
Yep.
in two people
Wow.
on our team, watch those guys come in and absolutely crush it, and they continue to crush it, and they continue to inspire other people on our team, and I watch other people come in and join the same trajectory. So watching this company and being a part of this company that's truly making a difference for people in that way, and not just like a lot of companies say, yeah, we make a difference. I want to make a difference. Like a lot of people say that, but do you actually do it? Like what kind of actions are you taking to make a difference? Are you giving money back? Are you giving time back? Are you investing into people? Are you investing into them to help them grow and create a better life for them? So all that said, that is still, I probably will not change that because it is still 100% relevant to today. I'm not going to throw it in ChatGPT. I believe that's something that I don't want to throw into ChatGPT or have AI write for me.
Why not?
Because that's, AI is not me, and I want to write that. That's my bio. I would never have AI write my bio. Even if I gave it the prompts, it's still, I want to write it because that's me. Even if AI knows all the data on me, I want to write that because that's, AI can't say what I'm.
Do you think there's a connection between that thought process and the relationships that you've curated with your clients?
Yeah. I believe that nothing replaces a handshake, an in-person meeting, an in-person. I mean, nothing replaces what we're doing right now. We could have done this over Zoom, and we talked about it.
Yeah, we did.
I said, Jay, why don't we, you're going to be in the office next week. I'm going to be in the office. Why don't we have this in person? And I much rather do this. And I feel a million times more connected than over Zoom or Teams. So nothing replaces that. Nothing replaces truly caring. And, AI, technology, all this stuff can help speed up the process of, everything that we're doing, but it will never replace a true relationship. It'll never replace my care or someone's care for somebody else and the results that they're trying to get them. It'll speed up the results. It'll help simplify the results, but it won't replace how much I care and how much our team cares. So,
You've been promoted multiple times. What's your advice to those listening that desire growth, that desire a career? How would you advise them on moving through upward and onward in their careers?
So I'll give a good example here. If you're making $50,000 today, the work ethic to make $80,000, $100,000 is different, right? Anyone can jump into a $50,000 a year job, clock in, clock out, live your life outside of it, great. If you want to truly move up in your career while you're making $50,000, you have to work like you're making $80,000. You have to work like you're making $100,000. You have to work like you're making $250,000. Every time that you level up, you have to put in the work before it comes. So, when I first started at the Pavement Group, I was making $40,000 for the first 2 years. Granted, again, I didn't have much to lose, but I was working. Like you could ask Brian, I was working like I made 120. And eventually that caught up, right? It took a couple of years, but eventually that caught up. You have to get around the right people, of course, but you have to work like the next level, and it continuously levels up. And I'm working on that to this day. It's never going to stop, right? If you're making $100,000 today and you want to make $250,000 in the future, you have to work like you're making $250,000.
What do your peers think about your success?
I hope that I inspire them. I really do. It's funny. My buddy Ethan actually just got married somewhat recently. Good friend from high school. Shout out to Ethan. Love you, brother. I was back at his wedding, and he came up to me. He said, "Man, you guys flew in from out of town. You guys are like the celebrities flying in." I've never thought about it like that. Angel and I came in from out of town, and you guys are like the celebrities coming from out of town. And that to me, I'm like, oh, I've never thought about that. But I hope that it inspires people. Like there's nothing wrong with one of the things that I've had to overcome mentally is like not necessarily looking down on people, but like, if somebody's in their hometown and they want to stay in their hometown and work at the same job, there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to do that and that's your life, great, right? For me, that wasn't the case. And I think for a lot of people, there's a lot of fulfillment that comes out of moving out, jumping on a team, taking some risk, jumping on board and trying to truly make an impact on people on like a global scale, right? Like to me, that's exciting. So I hope to inspire the people who are like me, who have a similar thought process, who maybe have a little spark of something. I hope to inspire them to take action and put in the work. It's not easy, but like that's what I hope to do for my peers. And I think that I've done that up to this point, and I hope to continue to do that.
What type of work ethic is it if I'm listening to this and I'm at X in my role, my responsibilities, and of course my income at that state is reflecting that, and I want to get to Y, which is well beyond that. What type of work ethic am I going to need to, in a sense, you said, live that income before I have it?
Mm-hmm.
What type of work ethic?
Yeah.
Is it staying later? Is it that's what the nuance there. I'd like to understand that more deeply.
Yeah. So staying later, getting in earlier. You could ask my wife. There were several times that I sat at our desk at my house and I put in, 3-4 more hours of work. And I, granted, I understand that not everyone can do that. Some people have kids, families, but there are times where you can stay a little later, put a little extra in, get in earlier, be more productive throughout the day of the hours that you have. I feel like a lot of people come into work, they're like, okay, great. I put in my 8 hours, 9 to 5, 8 to 4, 8 to 5, whatever it is, put in my 8-9 hours. How productive were you over those 8 or 9 hours? You can honestly, you don't even have to stay later or come in earlier. If you just focus for those 8 hours, 9 hours that you're here, that you're present, you be present in your work and you don't scroll through Facebook, go shopping on Amazon. If you truly work, you're going to be farther ahead of 95+% of the population. So it was between that and for me, and it's still to this day, it's if I've got a lot to do, I've got to stay an extra hour. I've got to come in and an hour earlier. Sometimes I gotta work from my desk at home. But you just, at the end of the day, every situation's a little bit different for people, and it really depends on how far you want to go, honestly. But it's doing whatever it takes to get it done.
You generated millions of dollars in sales. Mm-hmm. What did your day look like when you were first getting started?
When I first got started, so yeah, it took me 7 months to sell, the first year anyway, it took me 7 months to sell my first $1 million in year one. And it took, I basically worked for 7 months without seeing any massive result, right? I just trusted the process. So coming in, getting in at 7:30, between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, whatever made sense. Coming in and focusing, putting in my headphones, Bang Energy kind of got this company started. Ask Brian about that one.
Yeah, we got to bring it back.
No, we do not need to bring it back. It was terrible for you.
Oh, gosh. Bang Energy drinks. Are we gonna
I
get
will
sued?
I will say I have a terrible caffeine addiction, but it's I'm working on that.
You can give some to me.
I'll give some to you, Jay. But really just coming in, putting in my headphones, structuring my day. I was, in that first year, I was also still sourcing jobs, somewhat on our operations. We had a small team. I think there were probably 5 or 6 of us at that point. So I was still sourcing jobs as well. So trying to balance that was difficult, right? Trying to balance like, hey, I've got to sell.
In essence, that means you're doing 2 jobs at once.
Yeah.
Because that now has been split.
Yeah.
Sourcer,
so when
account manager.
So when I fully transitioned into sales, we really had to hire like 3 people to take over my previous role of sourcing and scheduling and doing that operations role. So it was a lot. It was a lot for that first year. Again, you could ask Angel. I was working nonstop. I'd come home, I'd plug into the computer after working my 8-9 hours, and I'd have 15 proposals to get out. So I would just do it. It'd take me another 4 hours, 3-4 hours to put all that stuff together, but it's what it took. So, getting in at 8 o'clock, trying to structure my day in a way that makes sense, trying to just be as productive as possible in the 8 or 9 hours that I had was huge. And to this day, it's still huge. Using my journal, using my planner. I made my own planner because I didn't like any other planners that were out there. So I made my own planner kind of structured towards my day and what a salesperson should do, what I should do in my role. And then getting home and trying to be as present as possible with my now wife when I wasn't working. I think that's a big piece of this all too. None of this would be possible without her, because she is the one that, I'd get home and she's like pushing me nonstop. She's not like, oh, like, why don't you put your computer away? And she's like, no, like, you got to work. Like,
yeah,
like, we got goals. She's been the biggest support in all of this.
Yeah. What's your advice to those listening in that regard?
Yeah. Listen, if you're not married yet, I was fortunate to meet Angel in high school, and she's been with me since.
Wow.
You went back in my Facebook and saw my old pictures of my, long hair and all that. Like, she was with me then when I was nothing, really, right? A hockey player in high school, and that was about it. And my biggest advice would just be, find somebody who truly supports you. And especially when you know how it is. Jenna supports, she's like your rock.
Yeah, without her, I'd be schlepping my wares. I just started saying that recently out of nowhere, and a few Lyft drivers looked at me weird.
Schlepping your
so
wares.
Why am I telling them that? But yeah, I absolutely identify with that.
But yeah, dude, find someone who supports you, and who's real with you. Angel tells me if I'm getting off track. And if I'm not being present too. If I get home and I'm not being present for the time that I do put my work away, she'll let me know. And I need that. I needed that, and I still need it to this day. So find somebody who supports you, and find somebody who's going to be real with you, not someone who's just, not driven, kind of there for the ride, but it's like, you do whatever, just find somebody who supports the hell out of you and who's going to be by your side.
The client relationships. What would be your counsel on how to develop client relationships that have trust, that are founded on trust?
Sure. The biggest thing I'd say for developing client relations is to truly make it a relationship. Stop making it this transactional thing. Sure, business is done in transactions, yes. But business is, I go back to Michael Scott from The Office. We're in the people business.
I wish we could insert a clip there. That's good.
We should insert the
someone
clip.
Maybe.
We are in the people. Seriously, we're in the people business. When you solve people's problems, they're not going to want to go anywhere else. And so investing in these relationships with these clients that we have, like, they're not just clients. No, like, these people become friends. They become people who I genuinely want to know. I want to know about their kids. I want to know what's going on in their lives. You know, I enjoy talking to these people. I enjoy going to get dinner with them. Get in person with, like, biggest thing right now, post-COVID, get in person with your clients. Like, it's the most simple thing in the world. Go get in person. Go take them out for dinner. Go take them out for lunch. Go grab a coffee. But it's relational based. Like, it's not transactional. Stop making business about transactions. You know? You are there to help solve these, especially as a salesperson. You're there to help solve these people's problems. It's not the 80s anymore. You're not selling used cars. You know, you don't have to pressure people. You be there as a support. You be there as a guide to help them, and you build a genuine relationship, and you be genuinely interested. Like, that's where a lot of people get it wrong. They think they're asking questions. They think they're asking about their kids, but they're not listening.
How does someone know if they aren't listening? They think they are.
Well, if you forget the conversation after you know, there's key components in the conversation, and I'm guilty of it. I've learned, and I'm still learning. I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of asking questions and not listening. You could ask Angel. She'd probably say, like, yeah, you got to listen. But it's something that I'm constantly working on. And anyone who's out there as a salesperson, like, the advice I would give to you is just genuinely listen, write things down. You gave me some advice the other day. You said, every conversation I have, I write it down on my phone. You don't have to go to that extent, but, you know, write it down in your phone. If you have a conversation with somebody that's meaningful, write it down in your phone. Have that Rolodex of contacts. Write it down so that you don't forget, and be genuinely interested. So, yeah, if you forget, that's probably a sign that, like, if you forget somewhat quickly, it's probably a sign that you weren't truly listening.
What about meeting new people? So, new relationships. What was that like in the beginning when you had to call on new relationships that you didn't have? You know, cold calling. Were you scared? Were you hiding in the bathroom?
Not quite hiding in the bathroom. But I mean, initially I didn't have the confidence. I remember my first cold call. It was so bad. It was like,
Why?
shaky voice. It was the first rep I've ever done. You know, now I've put in thousands and thousands of those reps, and the more reps you do, the better you get at it. You know, so for a new salesperson, like, the advice I'd give you is it's all about reps. You know, it's all about reps. You got to just start, learn what word tracks work, which ones don't. The first cold call I made wasn't even actually at this company. It was at Asphalt Associates, so a couple companies ago. Yeah. And it was bad. I just remember being, like, shaky, and I was nervous, didn't know what I was gonna say. I just talked and talked and talked, and then the person's like, "Okay, sounds good." I'm like, "Okay," hung up the phone. Oh, I guess that's not how this is supposed to go. So the next one was better, and the next one was better, and now I could pick up the phone and just dial anyone, and I feel that I could, develop a relationship.
What are you looking for when you call someone?
Somebody who has aligned values, an aligned culture, an aligned outlook on their life. I mean, the best clients are the ones who are, focused on self-development, who are focused on, the things that you can relate to, of course, as an individual salesperson, right? But when their company, when they're culturally aligned with yours, it usually makes sense to work together. That's how I open up every new sales call. So, I prospect somebody, we set an appointment, we jump on that call or get in person. My opening line, and I genuinely mean this, it's always, hey, we're just here to get to know each other and figure out if what you guys do makes sense with what we do. And, also if our values align. And if they do, it usually makes sense to work together.
Wow.
If they don't, hey, no worries. You've gained a friend and a resource in the industry, and I genuinely mean that. So it's never let me down, and it's because I believe it to my core. Kind of goes back to the LinkedIn bio. Like, I genuinely do believe that if somebody has multiple properties out there, and their values align with ours, and their culture aligns with ours, usually it's a really good fit.
So let's talk about that. Properties, values, culture. So on the properties piece, what's the practical problem that we're solving with the Pavement Group?
Sure. Practical problem is, I'll give an example. Let's say there's a company who has 2,000 properties or 1,000 properties, and let's say they have 5 facility managers who each have, if you call it 1,000, 200, 250, 300 properties. It's pretty common in this industry. That's a lot of properties to keep an eye on, to maintenance. You've got a budget of a couple $1 million to spend. What we do is we come in, we can go out, we can assess them. We built an app to make that happen. We can work with you, give you the data, work with you to develop scopes across your entire portfolio so that the $2 million that you have to spend actually goes towards scopes that should be and properties that should be worked on. So between that and between, if you have 300 properties, man, you're probably quite overwhelmed. I can guarantee you've been at your kid's soccer or hockey or football game or dance, whatever it is, and you've probably got a phone call with a toilet that's broken or a pothole somewhere or a contractor's on site and something's going way sideways, and it took you away from that particular thing that you were at. So the value that we bring is like, man, we're trying to simplify this process, and we're not perfect. We strive for perfection, surely, but we're people, and we're not perfect. But our whole goal and everything that we do is to simplify that, so you're not getting that phone call when you're at your kid's football or soccer game or dance, right? You're not getting that phone call of like, hey, contractor's on site and there's something going sideways. They're yelling at the customers to get like happens all the time in this industry. And what we do is we come and make sure that doesn't happen, execute these projects accordingly, and help you with your overall portfolio.
How do we make sure that doesn't happen?
Communication. Communication's huge. We implement technology so that, we know when we're working, in what places that we're working. But, overall it's communication. It's, training our team so that they know when to handle certain situations so that it doesn't need to get escalated. Like, sure, there's situations that happen on site. It's construction. It's always going to happen. There's always going to be something that happens on site. But it's how you handle it throughout that process, so that it doesn't get escalated, so that it gets taken care of. Between that and between technology that we implement to tackle these capital projects and large projects and things like that, so that there's transparency and communication throughout the entire process.
And we're not performing it ourselves. We're partnering, collaborating with
Correct.
those that are performing. So what's that relationship look like as it relates to the Pavement Group with the contractors that are performing?
Yep. Yeah. So we're not self-performing these projects. We partner with, hundreds of contractors across the nation. Again, it's, if your values align with ours, it usually makes sense to work together. Us being the client, right? Them being the contractor. And we, as a team, we spend a lot of money acquiring new contractors, acquiring new vendors, and we spend a lot of money investing into those contractors and truly trying to help them better their company, better their culture, so that their companies are better, so that they do more work, so that the owner can work on the business and not necessarily in the business, so that they can grow, so that the projects go smoother for us, and at the end of the day, they go smoother for the client. A lot of these guys are, second, third generation pavers. They know what their dad or their grandpa taught them. They're really good at paving, but, maybe the sales and marketing piece is not there. Maybe communication isn't big. Maybe they don't know how to use technology in a way that simplifies all of this. So when we come in, we can help implement that. We've got a lot of work. You've said it. What do you say? We connect Wall Street to Main Street, so to speak.
It seems as though if there's three circles.
Mm-hmm.
One is the contractors, one is the corporations,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's this technology culture in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Curious if you think that is a good picture, or is that, what am I missing when that?
I think
if anything, could I be missing something?
I think it's a great picture. I think the middle represents, our investment in the relationship and in technology and trying to better their companies. But yeah, you've got Wall Street, you've got Main Street. Wall Street being Costco's, Walmart's, Target's, all these big box stores, Fortune 500 companies that we work with, and then you've got Main Street. The folks that do local work. They do a lot of local work. They're really good at paving, but they don't know how to, or they can't become a vendor of Walmart or Costco or Target, whoever it is, right? Because they might not have the resources to become. So what we can do is, we're a vendor of them because we can service them nationally. So we come in, we give these guys opportunities to be able to knock out these projects in their hometowns. And, now if they're doing the big box store, down the road, it also levels up their perception in their local market too.
Have you seen that happen?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
In this scenario where they're doing a job that otherwise they would have never had the opportunity to do because that national presence doesn't exist. So then other people that could hire them for other things now see them doing that locally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that raises their value in that local market, perceived value.
Yeah. And it's not even, it is perceived value, but it's also just the value that they bring. Like, you wouldn't be paving, a massive property if you weren't good, right?
Not for long.
Not for long anyway. Yeah, you'd probably be kicked off the job, but
yeah, that's a good point.
What's
that like to see people's lives? I'm guessing they would be evolving in a positive way.
Yeah. I've seen people's lives evolve. Contractors' lives. I've watched. There's quite a few contractors who, they started out with us. They were a pressure washing company back in 2019, 2020, and now they own 2 pavers.
Wow.
We got 2 crews, mill. They're doing many, many, many millions of dollars, not just with us, but in their local markets too. And it's really cool to see that happen and watch that evolve. I've also watched people internally in our team here evolve, grow into new roles. And that to me is just so exciting. It's my favorite part of this job. It really is.
Really?
It is. Watching people and being a part of a team that's winning and watching individuals win and change their lives. Like, this working here has changed my life dramatically. Like, mentally, financially, in my relationships, you name it, it's changed my life in a very positive way. And so to watch other people who have the same drive come in and evolve into new roles, the gentleman behind the camera back there, Tyler Stratton, is a great example of that. Like, watching.
Shout out to Tyler. Can we see him? Oh, he's still here with us.
But seriously, there's a lot of people on our team. There's a lot of contractors that have, through our relations, through employment, through relationships, they've been able to evolve and grow and, build something that is a legacy for their children and hopefully grandchildren, and build wealth and build their mindset, you name it. And it's my favorite part of this job.
What's your biggest lesson for 2023? What that sticks out?
Biggest lesson. So this year is kind of the first. 2023 is the first year that I've have really had the opportunity to lead the sales team. So in my current role, Todd Garrell and I kind of lead the sales team together, and I've learned a lot from Brian, a lot from Todd, a lot from another owner, Mike Kugim, on our team here. Biggest lesson is to constantly communicate and build relationships with these folks on our team. Like, and to just pour into them as much as possible. I can't do it all myself. I can probably sell, let's just use some numbers. I could probably sell $10 million myself with a support team. But I can't sell 50, I can't sell 100, I can't sell 250. I have to empower people on our team to do their part to make that happen. And in turn, their lives are going to be changed too. If they're doing $8, $9, $10 million in sales as a salesperson, like their life is going to look dramatically different than it does before they came here. So empowering those people and just pouring into those relationships, some of our people are remote, so it takes a little more effort to, I don't see them every single day in person. It takes more effort to build that relationship. It takes more phone calls. It takes more Teams meetings. It takes getting them in person. It takes me flying out to, meet them. So pouring into them and empowering them is probably, and just navigating that, figuring out how to do that is probably my biggest takeaway this year going into next year.
What are you excited for?
Next year, I'm really, really, really excited to watch people grow into their roles. There are people on our team who, next year they'll make more money than they've ever made in their lives. And it's not just about the money, but it's about what that money can do for their lives and their future kids, current kids, their families, and grow mentally too. And I'm beyond excited to watch people on our team just win in that respect. It's so exciting to me.
If someone's listening to this and they want to get involved, how do they need to show up to get your attention, to get the company's attention?
That's a really good question. I like that. Professional. I think a lot of people want you to be professional. I would say show up with a willingness to learn. I'm not done learning. I will always be learning until the day I die. I will always be learning. Show up to learn and be willing to take the trash out. Be willing to take the trash out. I don't care what level you're at in this company. Brian says it all the time. If you can't take the trash out in our break room, our CEO, Brian S., he does it. Everyone else in the company does it. If you can't take the trash out, you cannot work here. Be willing to take the trash out. And just have a passion for learning.
I'm going to end this podcast with a quote that I'm going to repeat. Excellence is never an accident. It is always the result of high intention, sincere effort, and intelligent execution. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. Eli Stoehr, man, do you exemplify that quote. Thank you for coming today, and look forward to next time on the Culture Matters podcast. Last words?
Give a shit. Give a shit.